Oh, well, it's 1 minute to 12. So good morning still, everybody. I trust that you are all good. And yeah, Brinal and Lisa, please, both of you guys have peace. I would love to have some peace in the room. So yeah, please, both of you guys, uh, as Lisa says, take a chill pill. Yeah, you are all welcome to today's session. I trust that you guys had a lovely time yesterday. And for those of you guys who said that they were able to work on Miss Sora, well done. I am grateful for that. I hope the projects that you had started on, you haven't had any problems. And for those of you guys who haven't started, I want to encourage you guys to start. We can only remember what to do when we practice. So as the saying goes, practice makes perfect. If there's any people who are joining us for the first time, my name is Mr. Afikile Sikwebu. My email address is afikile@africateamgeeks.co.za. You are more than welcome to send me messages if you have any problems or any challenges understanding our lessons. So there's my email address there. I'm a teacher at Linkside High School. It's a high school in Port Elizabeth in the Eastern Cape. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, you are very much welcome. All right. So today, in fact, as we recap, we'll look at what we did this week. We'll check today's outcomes and I'll take questions as we have been doing so. And of course, if you want to, you can email me your ideas. So as a recap, this week we had 3 definitions. I'm not a person that likes to um, have a lot of definitions because I think that sometimes they can confuse us. But we had 3 definitions. And so we defined coding, algorithms, and we also defined bugs. So we said coding is the language used by computers to understand the instructions that you give to them. So, okay, Lisa, I'm going to ask you now to just wait a bit talking to Brinal. Just pay attention to the lesson, please. Thank you very much. So coding is the language used by computers to understand the instructions that you give to them. A computer cannot think on its own. It can only think as you tell it to think. It can only do what you tell it to do. All right. So that is what coding essentially is, or simply is. It is just you telling you how a computer or what to a computer to understand the instructions that you give it. All right. And then algorithms, on the other hand, and algorithms is simply a step-by-step way of solving a problem or completing a task. We had a few tasks that we did during the week, and we put different types of code together. And those different types of code, they made our sprites that we had selected to do something. So that combination of code is what we call our algorithm. All right. And then sometimes mistakes happen in our code, and those mistakes cause the computer to do something that you did not expect. And those mistakes, we call them bugs. There's a few mistakes that we had this week. And I remember yesterday we had a bug in my code. And there's someone who said, sir, if you change the when flag clicked to when the sprite is clicked, it's going to work. Yes, and he was correct. And so sometimes our bugs are just very simple mistakes. Sometimes you were coding at night and you were tired and you make a very small mistake, and that is what a bug is. And then we also, in the week, we also looked at decision blocks, if then, and if then else. So we looked at these decision blocks. When you want your computer to make a decision based on what you tell it to do, you use those decision blocks. And then Okay, I repeated this one. We also looked at variables, at video extensions and text to speech. A variable we said is a placeholder, or it's just a container. A variable is just a can. Let's just say it's a can and it contains nothing inside. It will only contain something when you tell it what to contain. If you are saying you are a container of names, it's just going to say, okay, I'm expecting names. And you can put a name, you can put Brinal, and say, okay, now you are Brinal. And you can change the name and say, okay, now you are Ashley. You can change the name and say you are now Afikile. So a variable changes accordingly, or whatever is inside that variable changes as you change it. We looked at a video extension yesterday when we looked at how to play around with your webcam. And we also looked at text to speech, how we can cause our script to read with a voice what we have coded. And then finally, we looked at sensing, we looked at sound, and we looked at the looks scripts, where we can change how our sprites look, and how if they talk, if we want them to have speech bubbles, if we want them to bark, for instance, if we want to play music, and sometimes if we want to interact with the computer, if we want it to sense something. Like yesterday, we wanted it to sense our hands, and that's what we did. So this is what we were able to do this past week. And today, we are just going to use Misora to make our own game. So we're going to complete one game today, and it's basically catch the apples. It's a game where you just want to catch the apple. You have apples to catch, and you basically catch the apples. So that's what we are going to do. And before we do that, we are going to log in. And for me to do that, I will then open my browser. And go to mszora.co.za, and I will log in. Put in my username. Okay. Then I'll click on my MS Zora blocks or Miss Zora blocks. All right, then it will bring us to our Miss Zora interface. And for those of you who are joining us, if there's people who are joining us for the first time, if you can please just watch the previous videos on YouTube. You can find those on YouTube. You can go to Africa Teen Geeks channel. You will find our videos from that channel. Okay, so if we move on, we are going to remove our sprite, and we want to have, I said that we are going to have a game. We're going to make a game, and this game you want to catch apples. So we want to have a catcher. So we're going to have a catcher, and so let's select a catcher or something to catch the apples with. Let's see if we can find a container. Okay, I'm going to use, okay, let me use a bowl. Okay, let me use a bowl. So we now have a bowl. So this is going to catch our apples. All right, so now we have this catcher, all right? And we now need something to catch. And so we are going to select another sprite. And because we said it's catch the apples, we're going to choose an apple. Okay, and I'm going to change its size. Let's make it 60 or 70 maybe. Okay, that's perfect. All right, so we have this apple, and we can have, let's have two apples, and we then have this one is going to be a booby trap, and this one is going to be our apple. So the one that we need to catch. So we don't need to, we mustn't catch this one, but we must always make sure that we catch this one on this side. So in order to make them different, we will come to costumes and we will change the one that we need to catch. It is going to have a, let's make this out to be green. So we'll make it green. And so there we are. So you will see now the one that we need to catch has got a green shade on it, and then this one has got a white shade. If you catch this one, you will lose a point. If you catch this one, you will gain 1 point. So then thirdly, we want to perhaps get a stage or a backdrop. And we are going to use, let's see, outdoors first. Okay, this is part of outdoors. We are going to use this blue sky. All right. So we have now our two apples. We have a backdrop. We also have a bowl. All right. So now we need to start with our bowl. So in order to do that, we are going to select our bowl and we are going to write the code to move our bowl. So what we do is, you will remember that we said there's two ways. There was the long way with an if statement, if then, and there was also a short way of moving a bowl or moving an object from left to right. And we are going to then say events. So you have found events. And when we are in events, you will select when the one that says when space clicked, you will say though, when a right arrow is clicked, you can duplicate this and say when left arrow is clicked. So let's just make it this way. So when left arrow is clicked, what must you do? You must motion. If you go to motion, and so when the left arrow is clicked, we want our bowl to go to the left, and it is going to move. Let's say there's now two ways you can do that. You can either use move 10 steps, or you can also use change X by 10, because it's moving on the X axis. Say it's moving on the X axis, or it's moving left to right. So we are going to say change X by 10. So that is one way. This is the other way. So I'm going to show you both of them, but they work in a similar way. So if we take this and say move 10 steps, it's going to move. You see, it's going to move that way. If I click the left arrow, it's going to move that way because I said move 10 steps. But if I say, if I wanted to go to the opposite way, I need to say move minus 10 steps. That is one way. The other way, you can say change X by by 10. So if I wanted to go the right, I can just say change X by 10. Now on my keyboard, I am pressing the right key, the right arrow key. And now I'm pressing the left arrow key. Now I'm pressing the right arrow key. And so you can see that whether you use move 10 steps or you move change X by 10, it will give you the same effect for this game. And in order for you to change how quick your bowl is going to move, you can change this number here. Okay, you can change that number there, and you will see now it will move a bit faster than before. So if you play around with that number, you can then change how quick you want your bowl to move on the screen. All right, so that's the first thing. We've now we've now managed to get our bowl to move from left to right. And so we are done with the bowl because that's all that it ever has to do. It has to just move from left to right. So we can move on and go to our apple that we need to catch. And when we are on our apple, we want the apple to start falling. All right. So we want the apple to start falling when we press the flag. So we can come to events, and when you click the flag, or when flag is clicked, what then must you do? When the flag is clicked, something needs to happen. So we need to make sure that this apple is moving. So we are going to say, when the flag is clicked, once again, because we know that we are talking about movement, all the scripts that have to do with movement are always going to be under motion. So we come to motion, and you will remember I said you could either use move 10 steps or change X by a number. But now, because we are not talking about the horizontal movement. Okay, so when we say move 10 steps, it will always just do, it will move forward. It will move either this way or that way. So it will move on the horizontal axis. So it will move on the X axis this way. So now we need to use Y because the apple is going to fall from top to bottom. So you can also see here on this icon that it shows us that the Y is for up and down. The X is for left and right. So we are going to say change Y by 10. Now you will see it goes up. So if you want it to go down, we then have to say minus 10. And if I click on it, goes down according to the value that you have given here. All right. So we then have our apple moving, but it only can move when we click the flag, which is not, of course, a situation that we want. We want to press the flag once, and we want it to keep on moving. And in order to do that, we said there is a code to help us to repeat the same code over and over and over and over again. And we said we find that code under control, and we are going to take forever. So we have to say now, when I press the flag, forever change the value of X, the value of Y by minus 10. So it's going to come and say, forever change Y by minus 10, and then it's going to drop because it's going to change the value. Now, the next value you will see, if I move this here, if I press, you see it's 140 here. If I press this code, it's going to be 130 because it is taking the number 10 from this number here, 120, 110, 100. So that's what keeps on happening. So we then say, if I click the flag, forever change the value of y by minus 10. So we can do that. And you will see that it goes all the way to the bottom of our play area. We then want, of course, we don't want it to just stay there. We want something to happen when it gets to the bottom of our play area here. So we want to say maybe, if you get to the bottom of the stage, you must go to the top of the stage. So if you get to the bottom of the stage, you Apple, you must go back to the top of the page and start falling again. But we don't have a code or scripts that are bottom of the page. So we need to find a way for the code to know when it's at the bottom of the page. So this is what we are now going to do, to tell the code or to tell the sprite where it is on our work, on our play area. So we need to tell it where it is on our work area. So we are going to use a decision code or a decision block where we are going to ask the question, where am I? So we then say, if am I glitching to everyone? Someone says that I'm glitching. Am I glitching to everyone? Okay. Ashley, please just check your internet from your side. Yeah, please, Ashley, check your internet from your side. Apparently, not everyone is experiencing glitches. Thank you for that. So now we say change y by minus 10. We then say, if the position of this apple. So how do we do that? We are going to say, if, first of all, if the position, which is y, you see here, so if y position, so the y of this apple equals, so if the y position of this apple equals that number there, so pay attention to that number there. So when the y position equals that number, so when the y position equals that number, then, sorry, minus 186. Sorry, minus 186. So we then say, we take this and put this there. So if the y position is equal to minus 186, which is that value over there, then we must do something, all right? So we must do something. Now, how this works is that it asks, is the value of y minus 186? If the answer is no, like for instance, is the value of y minus equal to minus 186, it comes here and it says no, it's minus 88. So let's say now, let's put it at minus 89. Sorry, let's put it at minus 99. And then it comes and says, is the value of y minus 99? It says no, then it goes out, it takes away 10, okay? So it takes away 10, and now the new value is going to be 100 and minus 109, and it goes again. It says, is the y position of this apple minus 100 and equals to minus 186? It goes and checks. It says, no, it's not. Then it doesn't go into the if, it goes out and then it goes back. It says, change the position by minus 10 and it becomes minus 119. So you can see, but it happens very fast because the computer processes it very fast. So when we say if the position equals minus 186, we want, if the position is here, if it's minus 186, we want it to go back to the top. So we are going to say, once again, because we want movement, we are going to say set. Now, we don't change anything. We are going to say set the Y position to, let's see what we can do. We can, if we see the top position, it says 187. So let's make it 195. Let's make it 195 to make sure that it's off the screen. Okay, let's just put it at 195 for now. And the other thing is that, okay, let's see if it's work. Okay, so now you see, now it falls. Now it will just keep falling because we have put it inside a loop. Now, for our game, it would be very boring if all we did was to just put it here, because we are going to win the game. We want the apple to start coming from a different place every time when we've caught it, or every time when we have not caught it. We want it to come from a different place. So we are going to still stay here and say, go to random position. So if the Y position equals minus 186, go to a random position first and then set Y to 195. Now you see, it comes every time it goes to a random position. Every time it goes to a different place, it starts from a different place, and it then comes down. And you will see as the apples keep falling, your processing may start lagging a bit. So that is what is happening on mine. So yeah, just take note of that. It might not happen, but it might happen also at the same time. So we have done with this one, right? So we are able now to cause our apple to fall, and we can take the code, we can take all of this code, drag it, because this apple is also going to fall. We can either drag all this code and restart it, or and start it from scratch. Otherwise, we can just take this code and put it and drag it into our second apple. Now, if we click the second apple, that same code has been shared with this apple. But now, if you see, they are still falling at the same, okay, well, they were falling at the same pace, you know. But now this one, you will see it says minus 187, and it has stopped. So we need to change this number here. So let's change this number and make it 187. So now, once we make it 187, it will then start moving, because it is only checking for minus 187. It's not checking for anything else. We could use an OR, but we're not going to use it today, to make sure that it checks for other numbers also that are smaller than 187, just in case it stops at the bottom, but we won't use it now. So that's what is happening here. But we also don't want them to fall at the same pace. Let's make this one fall at the speed of 20, okay? So yeah, just to make it, and remember, this is the one that we are not supposed to catch. And if you wanted to, I'm just going to make it a bit difficult. If you wanted to, you could change the color of this apple so that it doesn't look the same as this one. So you can change the color of this apple. When you click on that apple, you go to costumes, and then you change it according to how you want to change it. It's your game, your colors. it's up to you what you do. Okay. So now both of them are working. The other thing that we then want to do, now that we have the motion, let's start with this one. We want to test now, or to check when our apple touches the bowl. What must happen when the apple touches the bowl? That is what now we want to look at. So we are going to say, we are going to still use this hat block. When the flag is clicked, we are going to use a loop. We are going to say when the apple is clicked, when the flag is clicked, we must forever do something. What is this thing that we want to do? We then want to sense when the apple has touched the bowl. So that's what we now want to do. We want to check, has the apple touched the bowl? Okay, if the answer is no, it will continue falling. If the answer is yes, it must go back to the original place and find a random position. So we say if, because remember, we need to make a decision. If you are touching the bowl, if you are touching this bowl, something must happen. So let's see where the code for if or touching, where it is. We are going to say, where is it now? Oh, sensing. Yeah, sorry. Sensing. So if touching bowl, you'll see here, if touching mouse pointer, if touching color, color is touching another color, distance. So you can, if you wanted to, you could use this one and say, basically, if it's touching this color, but you have to make sure you select your color correctly because if it touches it and it doesn't touch the exact color that you said it must check for, it is going to be very buggy. So to make sure that we get it right, we are going to say if touching, let's see what is in here. We can see there's an arrow which tells us that there are more options. So if touching the bowl, what must happen? So if you touch the bowl, what you must do is that you must go back to a random position. Where's random position? Go to random position and also set Y to 195 or 195, yes. Set Y to 195 because we wanted to go back to the top also, all right? So we also wanted to go back to the top, but this code does not control the movement to go down. It just checks, sorry for this apple, it is just checking, has this apple touched the bowl, all right? And if it has touched the bowl, what must happen? When it touches the bowl, it must go to a random position. It must change its location. It must go to a different place, and then let's make it play a sound, so that we know that we have scored something. So let's make it play a sound, and in order to play a sound, we go to sound, and in sound we are going to find different sound. Chomp. I don't like this one. We said we can go to sounds and we can search for a sound. Okay, my mouse has just stopped working now. Let me move to, okay. We have new sounds. I can choose a sound. If I click here, I will choose a sound. And the sound that I want is, let's look for effects. And I want this sound. Where's coin? So you can change, you can use any sound you want. Okay, so but we want coin, so I'm going to select coin. All right. Now we go back to our code. We'll then say play sound. Okay, start sound. So it's, excuse me, or it must be the first thing. So when it touches the bowl, it must play the sound. And let's now see if it plays the sound. Okay, so you will see that the random position is not always the top. So what we need to do is to make it is to say first set y to 195, and then after it's set y to 195, it must select a random position. Then you will see it will always come from the top. Is it still not coming from the top? Okay, let's put it here for now. We'll fix it. And let's make our bowl a bit faster. Did I just delete it? Okay, minus 30 and then 30. Okay, now let me see if I can make it a bit smoother. Okay. Oh, okay, no, it's not going to work. Let me see. No, it's not going to work. Okay, it's not going to work this way. If you wanted to make it smoother, you can use the longer way with an if statement. It will definitely be smoother. This one is not as smooth as that one. So you can make it smoother with using an if statement. Okay, so we come back here. Now the final thing, we're going to do two things now. We just want to check for variables, or we want to use variables in order to check how many lives we have remaining and how much score we have, well, how much score we have. Okay, so what we do is that we also just don't want to put that code with this one to avoid it being so long. We are going to, we are going to have a variable. So there's our variables. So we are going to create a variable, and this one is going to be called score. And it's going to be for all the sprites. So it's going to be available for all the sprites. And we can say, okay. And we are going to have lives, and they are available for all the sprites, and we say yes. Okay, so we have score and we have lives. And if we wanted to, we can put this here or wherever we want to put it. Okay, so we have those two. We have lives, we have a score. Now, what we want to do is to say, the first thing, when you start the game, always make sure that your lives are set to 0 and the score is set score, let's put it this side. So set score to also 0. So whenever you see this arrow, you must always know that there are more options available to that block. So whenever you see that arrow, no, there's more options available to that block. And so we now say, when I start the game, always make sure that it is starting at 0. And then also when I start the game, you must always make sure that it starts at 0. The lives must start at 0. Then if this apple makes its way to the bottom without me catching it, then I must lose a life. All right. So let's set lives to 10 so that I start losing from something. All right. You can set it to 10, then it will start counting from 10 to 0, or you can set it to 0, and then you must start counting from 1 to 10. All right. So now we say set lives to 10, and so therefore we must deduct from there, and we will say if the Y position is equal to minus 186, it must change lives. Also must change lives by -1. So we have done that. And if I catch it on this side, it must change. If I catch it, if I catch this one, what must it do? Okay, it must change my score by 1. So it must change my score by 1. Okay, this one is for me, is for the lives to go down, and this one is for the score to go up. So let's see. Okay, so 3. Okay, so you see, it's the other one is going down, the other one is going up. So it is counting, right? So we are getting a count, and we are getting a count up, and then on this side we are getting a count down. Okay, so then what we can do also is to say, how then do we know when the game has ended? This is the last thing that we are going to discuss. How can we know when the game has ended? And when the game has ended, what then can we do? All right. We can, let's put another backdrop. Let's have another backdrop. We have a backdrop 1, and we'll say this backdrop. Okay, let's put this color. So let's put text and say game over. Let's make this a bit bigger. Okay, and then yeah, we can just let's leave it like this for now. You can design your own game. You can when you design your own game, you can make it look better. Now we are going back to our game, and we then say, let's put another one. Can we join it here? If the lives is 0, let's put it also in here. So if the life, so we have a nested if. So it's an if inside another if. Do we put it there? Okay, let's put it on its. Let's put it aside in its own place, so that we don't have too much code on here. So if lives if lives equals to equals to 0. I hope this will work, because when I tested it and when I played, it didn't want to work. So if the live equal to 0, let's put a head block. If the lives are equal to 0, then what must we do? We must change the backdrop. So switch backdrop to backdrop 1. So when the lives reach 0, switch a backdrop to backdrop 1, and we must end the game. So you must then end the game. let's see. So I'm going to make it very fast so that it gets to the end quicker. Let me change it. Let me change it by 100. I just wanted to count down quicker. Okay, so it's not working because it's not counting the lives. It's not stopping it. So when flag is clicked, if lives equal to 0, yes, then switch backdrop and then stop all. So let's see if I put it here, what's going to happen. Okay, so it wants me to put it in here. It wants to be in the nested if statement. So it says if the y position is minus 186, then go to random position, set the y to 195, change lives by -1. Then after you've changed the lives by -1, go and check how many lives are remaining. And if there remains no life, then you must just switch the backdrop to 1 and you can then stop it all. If you wanted to, you could modify it or make it look better. And let's go back to the backdrops. And you could also, let's say, put a button here that says start game. So when you say, no, I don't want you, I want the backdrops. Yeah, so let's put a button, let's draw a button. And then inside this button, I'm just going to put a random color. Inside the button, we are going to say play game, or rather start. I'm going to put a start, and let's change this and make it white. Okay. Now we have start. So it says when this game, when it's game over, we are going to have this as start. And I actually am wrong. I'm very, very wrong. This is not supposed to be here. It's supposed to be a new sprite. Silly me. I'm supposed to draw a new sprite. Silly me. Just my bad. I must draw a new sprite. Okay, so when I draw a new sprite, I can do this. Okay, I'll do it quickly. I'll start and okay. Now I'll put it as a new sprite and I will leave it right here. All right. So then what I do is that I will say on this sprite, when this sprite is clicked, when this sprite is clicked, it must change the costume, it must change the backdrop to blue sky. Okay, so then I can just say, if I click that, it goes back to blue sky and it must then disappear. Change it to blue sky and then, sorry. Okay, so it must change it, when I click that sprite, it must change it to blue sky and then it must disappear. And when the game is over, it must reappear again, so I would have to then put, if the score is 0, that button must come back again. So you can see just how things can work out in our game. So we have come to the end of our game. Oh, We didn't code this one. Did we code it? Okay, yeah, we coded it. Okay, so we've come to the end of our game. And what I would like you to do at home, if you have, when you have the time, is to code this further, right? When this apple here, when it touches this this bowl, it must also decrease the score by 2. So you must lose 2 lives. Instead of losing 1 life, you must lose 2 lives. You can also make it, if you can also make this apple only come out after this one has gone out 5 times. So you can put your own ideas into the game and make sure that it is your game. You can use your own colors, you can only use your own sprites, and you can even get your whole family to help you with the game and to play with you. So we've come to the end of our lesson, and we have used all the scripts that we used in this week, except for the video and the text to speech. We used the if statement to test for conditions. We used loops to make sure that our apple keeps on falling over and over again. We tested for positions to check where the apple was, which position the apple was in when we started the game. So yeah, I hope that this lesson was clear, and I hope that I did not speed too much, and I hope that you guys understood everything. So thank you very much for your time. I'm now going to take questions, and I saw that Lisa had her hand up already. So I'm now going to ask Lisa to unmute herself. Lisa. Okay, Lisa is gone. Okay, Lisa, unmute yourself. Okay, maybe Lisa doesn't want to speak today. Your hand was up. Okay, anyone else who wants to ask a question, you can just raise your hand. I will unmute you. Okay, Mpo, you can unmute yourself, Mpo.
How do you copy the one apple with the green on it? How do you copy all of that sprite into the other apple?
You mean the code, ne?
Yes.
Okay, so what you do, let's say okay, let's assume, let's put another sprite that is blank. Okay, you can please mute yourself, please. Thank you. So now we have a blank apple, right? And we want all the code we want this code sort of from this apple. You can drag it all the way to over the apple that you want, or over the sprite that you want, and drop it there. It will then appear on the other side. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay, anyone else? Anybody else who has a question or a comment? None. Okay, we'll take Lumbala. Hope I said it correctly. Unmute yourself, Lumbala.
So how do you save the coding? How do you save the coding? The game that we just made.
Okay, so what you do is that you will go to File. Thank you for that. Okay, sorry, before you go to File, you will change the file name. You will see here, there's File Edit, and then there's a file name. Can you see? Let's say catching up You just give it a file name, and you will then click File. Now it has a file name, and say Save to your computer.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. And any question? Anyone else?
Sir,
Yes, Lisa.
tell me all the stuff that we do, is it on YouTube?
We will. It will be posted on YouTube before the end of the day.
Okay, and what's the YouTube's channel name?
I will put it on the chat. It's Africa Teen Geeks.
Is there a chat?
Well, on the chat on here. So let's say YouTube. If you go to YouTube, okay, we'll search Africa Teen Geeks. You can just subscribe to Africa Teen Geeks. Otherwise, you can search for Africa Teen Geeks, and you will then find all our videos here. Okay, so for instance, this is yesterday's video. Yeah, you'll find our videos on the channel. So if you scroll right, you will just keep seeing all our videos.
Is this one also going to be
Yes,
on
yes,
YouTube?
Yeah, will be later on today.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else who has a burning question? We have 4 minutes. All right, I guess everybody is happy. And we then have come to the end of our lesson. Everyone, you can unmute yourselves if you want to unmute yourselves and say hi. And please don't say anything rude to anyone. I know you guys are not rude kids, but please don't say